So Dennis, or Kid Clever, Lord, what are two of our favorite things?
Do you know I got ordained, bro? You gotta speak to me with respect. This is mine. Yes, thank you very much.
What are our two favorite things? Did you say what, Chris, or what are our two favorite things?
What, Chris? What are our two favorite
Strong
things?
language and adult content.
Well, I don't know if I want to really be a part of that. Are you recording?
No, this is we've got to warn people because it's our favorite things. There's probably going to be strong language and adult content.
Okay, cool.
So we're starting. Welcome back, the South African Edges. Welcome, geometry fans. I know this is why you guys are listening. We, the South African Edges, talk all about geometry from a South African content.
Only.
Yeah, exactly that. And I'm covering, I'm the captain, I'm covering the English side of it. So like I will be able to tell you what a triangle is.
And I'm covering...
No, wait, we'll get to you in a second. We've got a special guest, Dr. Johann, who's covering the Afrikaans segments. Dr. Johann, what's Afrikaans version of a triangle?
A driehoek.
Perfect, okay. And then we've got the Kid Clever, aka Lord Dennis Leach, which we'll get into a little bit later about the lordship. How many languages again do you speak?
Jacuz. That's Klingon for 4.
Okay, no, but I mean, I need a triangle in all the languages that you speak.
Oh well, so then, Jacuz. That's 4. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, cool. Hey guys, it's good to have you back. We're actually not geometry fans. I mean, actually,
Well,
we could be. But let's start the show good and proper. Yeah.
You're just testing.
No,
Yeah,
we're recording.
this is the real deal.
This is the show, man. But now we're properly starting, but we are recording the whole way through.
Jacuz. Oh, that was good.
Welcome to the South African Edges,
Best podcast in the world.
hosted by
Kid Clever.
and the Captain.
Fuck me, daddy.
So tell us about the tokoloshi. Clever thing, that tokoloshi. Track you down wherever you are. You're getting yourself all worked up about.
Hey, guys.
Yeah,
we're back properly here. This South African Edges, episode 2. Wait, hang on, I've got to do a thing.
Wait.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Always not Ebola.
Because I think like the last episode, we were still in alcohol-free zone.
Yeah, we were in hard lockdown, bro. So we
No,
couldn't
we're
really do it.
not. Now we're back.
Oh wait, welcome to it.
Yes, man. How are you doing, Dennis?
Bro, it's
Kid
raining,
Clever?
so I'm good. I'm in my element. I'm so happy. It's the sophomore episode of the South African Edges.
Sophomore, you said that earlier. I was
just
like,
heard
is that
that
number
earlier
2?
on.
I thought sophomore, is that number 2?
That's number 2. Apparently, not like you going to the toilet number 2. Like just more like your second
okay,
year, second of tweede maniere
Okay, cool.
type of
I get
vibes. How are you doing, Chris?
Mos, I'm always managing.
Oh wait,
Play on words there.
the captain. Oh wait, man.
Yeah,
I'm
man,
super cool,
good.
bro.
Like, and just thanks to the people that did listen to our first episode. That was rad. We got some feedback. It's always nice to hear from you people. You can get us on our Gmails and wherever.
Yeah, you can definitely get us on Facebook, which is the South African Edges podcast.
Kind of a little bit of our home for now, but we're spreading around.
And thank you for
virus.
those. Thanks for those guys who subscribed as well.
Yeah, man, like,
Lovely.
it
Really,
was-
really enjoyed that.
We appreciate that. It's always good to have that.
Bruh, so a lot of the listeners have gone like, oh, but we want to see video. We will get to that.
They will, eventually. Come on, man. This is just the beginning. This is the. They're involved in our melting pot of creative process.
Exactly.
Which is what we need.
Did you get any fan mail?
Dude, I always get fan mail, but it's from like
Not
OnlyFans.
Not like the ceiling.
That's a
fan
separate
mail.
thing, dude.
Oh, you still on OnlyFans?
No, but it's a different name. We're not going to talk about that.
All right,
Like,
cool. Sure.
Just a quick heads up from me, guys. Like the some of the feedback on the Nursery Rhyme. That remix thing is still happening. I'm gonna play a version of it at the end of this episode. That's gonna be a little clearer with the lyrics. The stuff is up on SoundCloud. The links will be up and in the description. So we want anybody to remix. I think the next episode we might even have one remix ready.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to tell you about. And we'll talk about that. Then from my side, the rest of the show later on, we've got track of the day. We've got question time, and then another bit that I think we're going to properly introduce in episode 3 is TSAEP, which is our acronym,
Yeah.
is Recommends.
Yes,
Somebody talking about
track
that. Like,
recommends or just recommends.
yeah.
Interesting
exactly.
things that people think we would like to know, or
Well, things that we like.
Yeah.
But also, what we love people to do is send us what they're into, what
Yeah.
they're watching, what they're listening to. But we'll get into that
Because
later.
remember, guys, it's for us by us. So please let us know. Oh yes, by the way, how would they be able to send us things and stuff like that?
Everything on our Gmail account, it's thesouthafricanedgespodcast @gmail.com. Super easy.
That's the whole
And it's
word.
going to be in the video of the YouTube is going to be there. It's also going to be in our description of our link in the YouTube video. We'll also repost it up on the Facebook and the Instagram, wherever we are.
Yeah.
But for the rest, Dennis, taking over. You've got a guest, yeah? We've got a guest.
Yeah, we got some cool stuff happening in the show. I mean, besides the fact that I'm going to release a whole bunch of secrets that some of you guys would have not known about me. But besides that, yeah, we've got a guest who's going to come onto the show. I'm super, super excited. And we're going to be chatting to him about his career, current things. But stay tuned. But I'll be diving into like local archiving. I mean, as you know, Captain, I'm a technophobe, so I'm very good with technology.
I'm the technophobe. You just phobic.
No. I'm the technophobe. So for those who don't know, when it comes to technology, I'm not so good. But anyway, I'm gonna be talking about local archiving. I'm gonna be talking about the PR monster, and then I'll be delving in lastly about the copyright beast, and that will entail our guest that comes through with the kung fu.
Okay, but now you also need to introduce our guest who's not Dr. Johann. He's not a geometry expert. He might know some stuff.
I felt like I wanted to introduce him only after I've done my stuff. But, ladies and gentlemen, and without further ado, it is my honor and my delight in the sunshine to introduce to you guys Johann M. Smith. Hoe gaan het, meneer?
How's it, dudes? How you doing?
Lekker, bro. Don't worry, we're gonna have that style. Jacques. Yeah, so we'll be chatting to him a little bit later on about like just why he's on the show and things like that. I'm super excited to have him.
Why are you talking about it later? I thought you were going to talk about it now.
Well, I mean, first I want to jump into like what I want to talk about.
Oh, okay, cool. No, my apologies. So you're running the ship. You're the captain today.
Am I now? Thank you. So yeah, like I mean, when it comes to computers, technologies and stuff like that, I have literally only got it on the late end because I've always been a person who's been on the microphone, presenting, rapping, just holding down the ropes in the bubblegum shoestring type of production. So when it came to technology, I've always been a bit late on the update. But one thing that I do love, before technology even, I've always loved to dig for music, whether it's going to parties, peeking over into the DJ box, seeing what the guy's playing on the vinyl. But now with the new technology sphere and having to adapt or die, literally, I'm still a digger. And being a digger, you always go look for the things that go against the grain or the things that you like from
grave digger? Or what kind of digging?
See, this I told you this before the show started. I told you, don't do that.
Okay, my apologies.
But grave digging is allowed. But yeah, so I when it comes to the internet, I love digging for old school stuff, the nostalgia stuff, the things from our youth, you know what I mean? And recently, because of certain moves that have been made in my life and certain projects that I've been working, besides doing the DJ potting, I have obviously gone to the history of like, just a local archiving. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I know that you've got a lot to say about this.
Yeah.
But I found myself obviously liking shiny things, just not finding what I'm looking for. And I don't know if it's because of my technology ineptency, if that's the real word. Ineptitude. That's, Jacques. Fuck you, English. Or is it the fact that local archiving is very scattered or maybe just non-existent? So me digging through just like things that I loved as a kid, I found that the internet or the South African industry just hasn't left a really good footprint when it comes to like local archiving. I mean, me and you sat in the car the other day and you were talking about Humanizer's previous work.
You didn't even know some of the stuff that was in it. And it's not, right. It's difficult to find.
But I mean, that being said, you went to go dig to find it. And I mean, you found it on what?
I don't know. It was when I was in England. I found out some obscure website that was not South African at all. It was like a Russian website that there was a release of it. It was pretty. Look, I think there is official places to get it. At the time, I was just like wanting to listen to it, and that was before like the streaming services nowadays, where a lot of stuff is on Spotify and all those other places.
I won't lie to you. I'm talking about a good. When I say nostalgic stuff, I'm talking about like 20 years ago. Like trying to find a good old school, because a lot of the stuff that I like, especially with Netflix and
just be careful with the word old school, because I think that's a lot of, especially, I mean, you know, obviously the hip hop scene.
Actually, talking about that old school, because I mean, doing my notes and doing my research, doing the old school. What would you classify as it? Is that like 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
There's two.
I'm talking about.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
No, please, we want you to interrupt. Otherwise, we're just going to irritate each other.
So do you guys remember preppy? The idea of being preppy.
Yeah. You're just trying to be a little bit
about like, you know, like tennis tops and, you know,
Golf pink
fitted
shirts.
chinos, Rolls Royce. So TikTok has a new thing. The kids are calling this old money aesthetic. Preppy is an old word. Like gay used to be happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is a new thing now. So old money aesthetic is what you call preppy. And that's made a comeback on two ways. One, as a bragging right, and number two, as a one as a bragging right.
Yeah.
And a status symbol always
Yes, it's a status symbol, and obviously also as a weapon to attack white people.
Jacuz.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think, well, okay, just from my point, what I was saying with the old school, where I find the different definitions, I think you often refer to old school as anything that is referred to as our youth.
Yeah.
But there is almost a genre around old school, especially in the hip hop scene, where people like only listen to old school.
That genre is changing.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
That genre is changing. It's not the same flavor.
No, it's cool, because we're getting older, bro.
Yeah. And just looking at the things that I was looking for, and this whole idea and this sort of consciousness came upon when I was just watching different stuff on, like, you know, these streaming platforms like Netflix and the big ones and blah, blah, blah. And I would find on the local programs I'm watching, there's that one track, I'm like, oh my God, let me just quickly check it out, where I can find that, and to navigate the internet to find like these songs is insane. And half the time when I do find them, this is after like deep diving, and then finding them on some site that's got nothing to do with the artist. It's not on the label's platform. And that has been the trickiness. And this all also happened because you were telling me about the humanizing thing. It's on a Russian site. Who in the world would have gone and fetched?
I don't know if it's on a Russian site. That's
where you found it. This is a personal. I'm speaking from a personal experience of like just deep diving and digging for things.
But look here, this is leading into a little bit of what I want this show to be. What I love about the show is where a lot of guys that are either unsigned or they signed, but their distribution is not really happening. We are going to, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in the track of the day. We're going to want guys, like, we've got a platform for you guys. We're not going to own the rights to music, we're not going to do anything, but we want it to be somewhere so that you can listen to it. And wherever your stuff is, we'll promote from there. But it's going to be played on the show. We've got an audience, and we want, because it's stuff that you and I said earlier, like last episode, that there's so many tracks that I probably want to release but couldn't find an avenue. Yeah. And now we're trying to be our own avenue with regards to that, you know?
Exactly. I mean, and in the same breath of that being told, and maybe think about like just our digital footprint. Is there a storyline? Like, I mean, with most of the people that I have met, they would know what they're looking for, right? But not necessarily where. But like we for instance, trying to speak to your nephews who wants to know, where do I find Mood Phase 5 and how, and where would they search first? How would they search first? You know? Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about, because the digital footprint is not just the footprint, but it's a story where you
people search things different. Like you were talking about the digging. People dig differently now. Now it's suggested through algorithms and stuff, and it's about how to get your kind of music in your algorithms on Spotify that like you can be found, because people aren't as like heavy as diggers as we were. I think people are a little bit lazy nowadays.
This is not the thing.
They get suggestions because it's automated for them.
This is something that I would like to maybe ask Johann. Is it the fact that it was our responsibility to leave a what do you call it, a layman search, or was it our responsibility to tell people, no, if you want to dig for something you like, you got to just do better at it?
I've got a lot to say about this comment, but just for the listeners out there, this is a beautiful thing because they're actually talking to each other. It's very meta. I'm not sure when they're discussing business with each other and when the show starts and ends. I'm not sure when it's going to be edited out here.
There's no editing. We are the edges, bro.
This is the South
a
African
geometric.
edges.
We're the rhombuses of.
So if you don't mind just repeating that question, Dennis, like more concisely.
Like what Chris was saying.
Oh, he
in
talks in a
term-
loop. I don't think there was a question in there. No, we'll wait.
Somewhere in the sphere of my banter, there's questions in.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is like the digital footprint being so scattered with local archiving, and me as the head of digging and love digging. Was it our fault as people from the film industry, music industry, whatever industry, to leave a easy way to find the work, or is it the fault of whoever's trying to find stuff to just try better? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, this has always been the question, hasn't it? How do we save our artwork? But I think what first needs to be defined, and this is a language problem, when there were, like if you look at South Africa and you look at like say white people in the 80s where I come from, right? They were into klipverf, and then Nirvana came and Blink came and all those things came. So to define and use the same perimeters that those people were used to what I was listening to is not the same. So trying to understand TikTok or Instagram or Facebook and how that works into archiving, like how we used to, like how you used to do to LPs, is null and void.
Yeah, I suppose it's a different model and it's a new generation, and the technology's changed so quickly over generations that it's changing in our lifetimes. We're used to it would take longer.
And the result of thereof is that the LPs have to be accommodated for those platforms. For those platforms. So if you're a lover of music, if you're a label, you've got to take the responsibility to get that online and get people in on it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 10 people. Right. That's very important.
I've got an unbelievable example. I was just listening to something that I'm going to mention later, but specifically a girl that did an indie ambient folk album. She released it in 2016. She released it on cassette in 2016, and it blew up. Like everybody was buying it, and eventually they had to adopt. I mean, it's a weird example that will probably never happen again, but like it's like old tech into new thing. Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and also with that being said, because for me, I look at it as the old school days of you go to a library, you know what you're looking for, they tell you down that lane over there, and there you go, it's all up to you. Now I look at it as libraries being museums of whatever you're looking for, because that's what a library is. It's we talk about old stuff that's happening.
Library.
But that's going to end up somewhere, Dennis.
Yeah.
You see, that's going to end up somewhere. I wouldn't worry about books.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be some Francophile out there living in Tableview, you know, I've got a garage, I like these books, I'm going to keep them.
Yeah.
That's rad. But now, how do we, I mean, people are constantly deleting Instagrams. I mean, TikTok and, not TikTok, it's Snapchat. Right?
Yeah.
And Instagram
Which is
stories
now,
that only last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like, where does that stuff go?
Where does that go?
Also, I mean, the mediums, I mean, the last 20 years have changed. You came from CDs.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we got into piracy. We got into MP3s for a while.
Yeah.
And then it went to streaming as a result thereof.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, that
Yeah.
you like CDs are null and void. Like, you can't even buy a computer with a CD player anymore.
But
Problem the other day with that.
this is
Does your
also
Mac have a CD player?
It does, because this is a pretty old Mac, like, but it's a super old.
On the fringes, man. On the
Yeah,
edges.
the edges, bro, the edges, you know.
But this is the thing that I'm also wanting to bring back to, like, so okay, I'll speak from my experience point of view in terms of the hip hop sphere. All those old school guys, like the Eavesdrops of the world, the Mood Phase 5. I go into internet and I type that in, and none of their digital footprint is precise. I have to literally now go, what label were they with? You know, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, our local archiving is so scattered. And I'm talking about South Africa.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say,
Africa
internationally they've got it
Okay,
better.
well, let's define the question a bit.
And when I say, and also before you continue, when I say I want to have that nostalgia of the old school, I mean like 20 years ago, to see where this whole thing started, you know? I'm a young kid, I'm into trap, or I'm into whatever the case may be, and I want to dig, and I want to go see. I have checked, went online, and I've tried it myself, whether it being maybe me just being not good at fucking searching, or whether it be like, it's just so scattered. It's like, where are these things? And forget the quality of recordings, I'm just dealing with the YouTube. This is before the streaming platforms. So those things, from Lucky Dube as well. It's some dude from Bahrain that loaded up one Lucky Dube track, and you can see it. It says there, and he capitalized on loading it up. It's not from the label. This is what I'm saying. That was like
I think it's
what
a
happened
little
to
bit
our
changing.
local.
I think slowly but surely, I mean, this is one of the weird things that's happened with the COVID and everybody being locked down and stuff. SA has started to catch up heavily with the efficiency of online content consumption. I mean, this is just my experience. I might not be like 100% correct here. I mean, you're way more involved in this. Like,
You've got to define the perimeters first off, and I think anything pre 94 is well documented. It's somewhere.
okay.
Somewhere. More than likely, because it came through official medias. There might be some stuff that's lost, for sure. We don't know.
Just in some old hippie's mind from one concert.
Once you start delving into the subject for real, Dennis, it becomes almost tedious and tiring in many ways because each one is different.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like bands compared to electronic music goes very quickly. I mean, trap was what, 2 years?
Yeah.
You know, and now it's like, it's kitsch if you listen to trap.
Yeah.
You know, mumble rap was like, I think 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
with the whole ratchet thing that happened. I think that was the longest lasting kind of pop culture genre that we had for a while.
Yeah.
And then, so each one has a different kind of like thing that they do.
Lifetime, I guess.
Like metal dudes are better, jazz dudes are better. Bands, some of them are good. And obviously like anything that's sort of like Kwaito hip hop, because the crowds are simply bigger. You're gonna find more fans there with more collections and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is something that YouTube that I was interested. I mean, I know he's more in the scene, and something that I knew nothing about. And you were telling me, these people do have a big catalog.
Yes.
But just because I'm a novice, I don't know anything about it. It was rad to, okay, cool. At least some of it's being captured, documented. Like obviously, like needs to be sifted through. But yeah.
Well, so now that I've got you two sort of white boys on my show, on our show, we should start a local museum, an online museum then, to navigate whoever would like to find out where the transition was for Afro-pop into pop or pop into Afro-pop, or like, should that be the conversation that should be had? Like, we should have a local online museum?
It basically comes down to the fact that, like, I mean, if anybody's out there right now listening and you're thinking about starting a band or starting a TikTok or starting anything, think about the long run. Think about 30, 40 years from now. Think about the fact that you're not American, okay?
Yeah, we're going to leave something for posterity.
We don't have a pop culture that's that big with that that's well financed. So we've got to take more special care about that kind of stuff. And so if you're in a community and you've got a bunch of local bands or DJs or whatever it is that you do, make sure that you archive that properly. You can make a documentary out of it one day. You can give it to your kids. Someone's going to be interested in it. And it's just that's really the question that you're asking, Dennis, is ultimately it comes down to a certain currency. What is that currency? What is the shelf life of Kwaito?
Yeah.
What is the shelf life of Norm? What is the shelf life of Folk of Polisikar? Where does this take us? So, and there are some people that do better jobs at it. CapTn Philharmonic Orchestra being one.
Yeah.
They just keep pushing and they keep evolving themselves in the community. It's a great example. It doesn't matter what genre you're in.
Yeah.
It's a business. It's a business outline that you can follow.
To be able to keep it so that there's something
sustainable.
there. And not put a videotape in your garage and then it gets lost,
Then Chris...
Who's Chris?
Captain. Yeah. Sorry, he refers to me as my Catholic name, Dennis. But
No, it's Lord Dennis.
It's Lord Dennis, anyway. But then, guys, did we miss out? Did we miss the bus on documenting our nostalgic footprint?
I think with some of our electronic scene in Cape Town, there is some documentation.
We spoke about this the other day, how we were
got into that
monumental
heavily.
in a global sphere.
Yeah, we were competing like...
Are you talking about print now?
No, we're just talking about like
music. Like, sorry, this is
music.
What year?
We talk about like
early 2000s.
Early
kind of
2000s.
thing. Lark, Humanizer,
okay.
real estate
Like 20
agents.
20 years ago.
We had some of
talking-
the most cutting edge like electronic
There was
music.
that one chick, Noah. Do you remember? It was in Monster Hits, and I discovered they were from South Africa. Do you remember Monster Hits?
What?
I remember Monster Hits,
Do you
but I didn't know
remember?
there was a South African one.
I don't know that
I mean,
song.
Seether was
Seether,
pretty
yeah.
Seether, yeah.
Sarin Gas originally.
But so did we miss the bus on us just documenting? Because somewhere, somehow, somebody has that music and like they're sitting on it.
The size and scope is very limited, and a lot of times the party industry gets mixed up with the music industry.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's the problem.
Yeah, because I suppose in those days the party industry was their main income because there was no actual right. You're not making money from album sales. You're making money from gigs and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of tracks that were popping in the party scene, but weren't on radio. You know, everybody you would tell them, yo, you know that one track with what do you call it? 340 mil. Yeah. But it's not playing on radio.
Yeah, and yet every club that you go to, every bar after like a week or two of playing, they're all playing a tune and everybody knows it, but it's not on radio.
So did we miss the bus on just thinking about and knowing the importance of...
Dennis, you know this well as I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for every 100 Dennises and creatives and guys that can really like rip a line, you know, or write a poem or do a painting, there's a half a businessman out there.
Yeah.
Like there isn't really anybody exploiting this, and I use that word with all due respect.
Yes.
Yeah, but exploiting in the right way. Like
no.
Either way,
Just either way. Just getting it out.
If the music gets good,
Yeah.
if the music gets good, and there's one out that gets exploited, that's even better than now.
Yeah.
We live in a wasteland.
The public swimming pool is right happening right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you take someone like, I mean, and we just recently interviewed him as well on our show, John Mark as well. Like, I mean, like, there's a part of me, I mean, like, you know, when I found out he was like he was involved with Nike skateboarding. And I was always kind of like, okay, Nike joined late to the party. You know, skaters were always like skater made, skater owned.
Yeah.
That's where I come from. You know? And it was one of the last things that you can kind of like say, okay, cool, let's legit community. It's not corporate. You know what I mean? Like, where were you in the beginning?
It's the early underground culture.
But I respect Nike, and I respect that there's a place for him to go. I really respect that.
No, well, the whole thing is sometimes people.
But I think the same with music now. Let me just finish that point.
Yeah, sorry.
The same with music. It's with like, you know, there are these talents out there, and if you're not going to pick up on them, other people are.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. Jean-Marc needs a place to go.
Yeah.
He needs a place to go, and if that's the best one that's calling and knocking, then damn, let him take it.
Right.
Yeah, because I think early days our early days of generational thing when it came to music and stuff, like if you got a sponsor, there was almost an attitude, oh, you kind of selling out, which is an idiotic
which has
thing.
changed. Which has changed.
So with both of you,
and I've got a comment on that, by the way, as
with
well.
both of you kind of getting to my second point. Okay, Nike's jumping on it. You got a sponsor, PR, the PR monster, which for me, I have never known, but the PR monster has always been around me. Yes, we all heard of the word PR, but
personal responsibility.
It's public relations.
Nice.
Public relations, as I would say it, my diva, public relations.
No, you need to do the black label voice in South Africa.
In South Africa, public relations. Anyway, then
we're going to make an advert for that.
There's the one that I would call public reputation or people reach. This is just what I would say. But going back to what I'm saying, I guess because of the navigation of nostalgic music from 20 years ago and the local archiving thereof, it was back then mainly because most people who are successful in all of that, in terms of trying to find their music, Brenda Fassie, Jimmy Clulusa, it's because they had the best PR people behind them. They had the greatest like sort of engines, like the Nikes and the Sony Musics. Because let's be honest, I think 60% of your career is PR based. I mean,
I even want to jump in because I know what you mean by PR, but I almost want to give it a broader sense of management, where I think we've got so much great talent.
I will trump you on that. I'll trump you on the management. The reason why I'm saying I'm going to trump you on the management brings you towards your PR, because public reach, if you don't have a reach within the public, your music just dies in the water.
But your manager is going to direct you in that place. That's where.
Right. So that also but I mean, you can still have a publishing deal without having a manager. And you can still make it out there.
Which is happening a lot nowadays,
Which is, this is what I'm saying. Which is, I think what the new kids are doing now is their public relations paying for their rights to getting the public reach. Because, I mean, you have to pay for what you earn. Like us, unfortunately, it is like,
everybody's to spend money, salary,
spend money, I mean, to make money, you have to spend money. And with the PR game, the PR monster, what I'm talking about is that for a lot of the people that are unknown, the 340 mils that need to be celebrated, the original evergreens that people don't know that is now the antwoord.
What was that old?
These are bands you need to go look up.
Yeah. We're going to put links up if there is stuff available. I'll try and dig them.
Those people.
What's that industrial Afrikaans band that we talked about?
Battery 9.
Anybody that's an industrial fan.
What was the main dude's name?
Boo, even Boo as well, who's now Chris Kameen, you know. But what I'm saying is the PR monster is probably the biggest factor within people knowing about these stuff. I mean, I'm going to give an homage to the print media. I'm going to give an homage to radio. I won't give an homage to so much the internet because that came later. But the most important ones were the mediums of print and the mediums of radio.
Yeah, especially
Those
back
were the
then.
ones.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's becoming a closer mix. There's a little bit. Well, specifically in South Africa, I think.
Yeah.
I think that the online adoption of that kind of PR presence was adopted a lot quicker overseas rather than here.
Thank you.
Like,
you just got me on my. You get me on my next. So I think because of that local archiving, our sort of navigation into PR was a bit late. Hence why our digital footprint, when it came to when the internet was a thing, wasn't so cool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think you need that storyline to be able to, for most non-real diggers, to celebrate their own kind. I think there's a lack of not so much anymore, where we didn't celebrate our own stories, our own musicians, because we didn't have, like you said, documentation. Because I think anybody that enjoys a music or art, there needs to be a little bit of a story, and that's helps people get into stuff.
Johann, you know this. In Cape Town, it was such a like, oh, you good. And you're good at what you do. Oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like back then, I was sitting in a room with a bunch of which now looking in hindsight, the best artists, the best.
Around the world in their genres, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but back then, like the early adopters of their time. But to us, it's like, oh yeah, but I mean, you're supposed to be good at it.
No, but he's just an idiot. He eats pizza on it.
He's an idiot. It's like, so what you good at? Whatever, you know, like. But now looking back at it going like, shit, I should have documented that. I should have paid attention. I should have taken advantage of that, whether it be monetizing or exploiting. But, you know, I think I should have given that person more PR and being a part of that than anything else.
But that's that attitude shift that I was talking about.
Support local, I suppose.
Yeah, which is starting to happen a lot more. I think back then we were almost anti-South African. Oh, it's South African. Oh no, where's the international?
No, but I think
maybe that was just in maybe one or two scenes.
This is quite a while ago, but I mean, there was a time that South African music was not cool. It just wasn't. You know, like people there was no way in hell you would go to high school and say I listen to a local band.
Yeah, I'd be like, what's wrong with you, kind of thing. Yeah.
And that became more of a thing because the production value got raised, and you know, things started getting better for that. And it's an egg and chicken situation. You're talking about the PR, you know.
But I just want to tell you something. This is totally off topic. But you know the whole myth. I want to set this record straight with what came before the chicken or the egg. It's 100% the egg, because the thing that laid the egg was a dinosaur or some animal, and then it was an egg, and then it burst the chicken. So it was always the egg. Just definitively, I'm laying down the law here as Captain
Jacques.
This is why you shouldn't use mixed metaphor, kids.
You heard it, yeah. So okay, but don't get me wrong. I'm not saying a lot of those artists that got the best PR in the world weren't talented. Yes, of course they've done their groundwork, but PR has definitely been the driving force between you being known, because it's the public reach is all you really have. Look at us, we're sitting in a digital age where you on Facebook you've got millions of people that you don't know, millions of avenues that you can get it into, but if it's not trafficked at the right points, at the right people who would listen to your music, which you need to pay for apparently, or actually, you won't be known. So I'm not saying that a lot of these people didn't do their music weren't justice and things like that. All I'm saying is for us as local artists going yeah, but where did we come from to being where we're at right now? For us being that, it's definitely PR. You know what I mean? It has to.
No, but PR actually does a lot of the grunt work in terms of factual information.
Those are the interviews. Those are your plugs. Those are your
exactly. So what they leave a cookie trail behind.
The footprint,
of information.
The footprint. which I would
digital
love to
footprint.
jump into your interview when we get to it. I'm going to mention something lastly, which I think that I'm not going to speak too much on it because copywriting is such a big
This is
world.
leading to my intro.
Yeah. Leading to
See
your
it in
intro.
his eyes, eh?
Leading to your intro.
Well, no, can you see through his clear glasses? I mean, maybe you can because like. or maybe-
Jacuz. That's the part where I say pause. I want to jump onto the copyright
Shots
thing a little
fired.
bit. One of the things I see a lot of people do online, which I now have found out that in order for you to take videos of people lately, it's the bills are going to be passed in a few months' time. If you want to put it online, you have to get the consent form. Now, this is like people being at your party. I'm not talking about in terms of like big productions. I'm talking about, when...
Yeah, you're
when-
talking about Papia and Poppy.
Yeah, literally like, oh yeah, nearby, what's his name? That's going to become illegal if you don't get consent of anything, right? Which is copywriting in terms of like you using my image. How many times haven't you been to a party where you take a little bit of a selfie and there's two people in the background that happen to be in your selfie? You now would not be able to release that onto Facebook. What I've seen what people do when it comes to copyright infringement is taking a photo of yours without your consent and putting it online. That's the most famous one. The second
Yeah, that
famous
happens
one
a
is
lot.
pornography. Within pornography, I've my team of
You're
researchers.
talking about porn, not piracy?
Well. That
Porn
being
piracy.
said, because now this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not a professional or a doctorate when it comes to copywriting.
I'm navigating around.
So I'm not a professional or a doctorate on like the copywriting scheme, but I do know it is copywriting is your. I mean, you can tell me better. It is your right to be able to say this is my intellectual property and nobody can use it unless I give the consent thereof.
Correct. That's basically your likeness is a copyright.
Yeah, exactly.
You can take that away
when
from
we
you.
do the
It's
T's
also
and
your
C's.
information, your data.
That's what we're selling on the Facebooks and the things when we sign those T's and C's. We actually giving those
We're
rights
giving
away.
those rights away,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not as at a personal
No,
level.
but you can only do it if it's your account. You can't do it for someone else. Do you understand? Like,
See, now this is the tricky part that I want to kind of get into. What I kind of want to get into. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce John M. Smith, man. He is the founding father of Digital Shelf. And alongside his business wife, otherwise known, the founding mother of Digital Shelf, Anya Reitenbach. Dude, she's not here. You can't represent her, but I'm going to say, like, welcome to the show. It is such a great honor to have you, for real, because we're going to get
After
some
like
insight.
3 hours of conversation, you introduce him. Love your
It's
work.
the South African Edges, Jacuz. Welcome to the show, dude. Like,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I can't wait to hear your insight and your history of what you've done.
Thanks, dude.
So, just a little bit of an homage and a celebration. The Digital Shelf portfolio boasts things such as the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra. Yes, I nailed it. Fuck you, English. The South African Bone Marrow Registry, and then they also publish Slow, which is something that we're going to talk about.
You're going to carry on. Everything that you're talking about is going to be in the link description. You're going to be able to check it out.
Thank you, bro. Can I continue?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
no.
Shakus. Besides you guys publishing the Slow series and webcast, which you'll tell me exactly what it's called, you the video and the art director thereof. That's a
Yes.
That's a yes. And then besides all of that, you're one of the most sort of music. You're one of the most sort of music. Should I say journalists or? And this is something because
Former music journalist.
former music journalist.
So he's almost famous, but he was like no, I'm just joking.
Yeah, it's so tough because in the first episode we had
Well,
a chat
weren't
about.
we all?
In the first episode we had a chat about this. You know, the celebrated, uncelebrated, most successful, unsuccessful
yes, yeah.
underground celebrities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take you a while.
I might be one of those.
Okay, you studied at AAA advertising school, and you kind of went on
A tangent.
Put it this way: you studied at AAA advertising school, which was the plan that you told your parents in the beginning. But then you went off to go do something else. Tell us about your journey.
So during AAA, we bands really got popular because that was like during 2006, 2007.
It was a
and
surge in
bands
South
were really
African,
popping.
yeah.
And so I figured, okay, cool, like there was this chick called Caitlin, and she wanted to start a band called Rare Rabbit, I think it was. I can't remember what it was. So I made a logo for it, and she was really impressed. And she knew my best friend Steve, who used to play guitar, and she was like, "You guys are gonna come jam my house." And at that point,
is that what you call it?
and at that point, Steve
a
was
dating,
busy
like,
teaching me drums, and the only thing I could play was basically stuff like Velvet Underground, which we used the suitcase for, and the bed, which was basically
Just the percussion parts.
right. That's it. That's what I could
still
do.
talking about music, right?
Yes, we are.
Just checking.
I hope so.
We're not that edgy yet in South
So
African edges.
in
like-
due time, I learned the drums and all that stuff, and I went for. I passed and I graduated. You know, and I was very happy. And I went to my interview at Ogilvy. So I pitch up, and they got these white carpets and these marble-clad kind of finishings.
Ogilvy,
and
it was.
I even had a bar, I think.
Yes.
You've been there.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
got that see-through lift and everything. So I go upstairs and I speak to this dude, and I can't remember his name, but I'd really like to meet him again. And he looked at my portfolio and he was very impressed. He was like, "I'm happy not to see the Namibian ad, because the Namibian ad was very popular for my graduates.
And your graduates, yeah.
And everybody was applying for jobs, obviously, because Ogilvy was hot. It was hot. And he said, "Well, not right now, but I'd like to see you in a few months." And
Okay.
something inside me just said, "This doesn't feel right." And I left, and I went on a pilgrimage to my home country, Namibia.
From Nam, back in Nam. Do you have
exactly.
PTSD from being back in Nam? Sorry.
Back in Nam. So I took a pilgrimage to Namibia, and went to go see my dad and everything. And basically, after all of that happened, I was like, "Johann, you need to get a job. You need to get a job." And I remember I only had, but when you're young, you're kind of morally bound. You want to do the right thing. You can't just sell out. Whereas like when you're older, you've got more responsibilities, more variables to work with. So back then you kind of like, you stick to like these really sort of like raw sort of concepts of what you think is the best thing.
You know what? A lot of that is generational, and it's
I was about to
infected
say.
from our parents and
I was
from
about to say.
not just parents, but our like society around us, our parents, their
because
parents and stuff like
like
that.
I mentioned in the question, the whole tact was to tell the parents we're going to go study advertising, and then we came back, and the story might have changed.
And the story did change. And the old homage, like Malcolm McLaren,
Yeah.
the Sex Pistols spoke about this. You go to art school to start a band.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did.
Jacques.
So I was basically in this band for a while, and I was like loving it. And I figured, look, let me just do something. I know I'm not that good with drumming to be going into another band, and to be quite honest, I don't have the patience for music making.
but you wanted to be part of it. Like,
Yes, I dig the
that's awesome.
vibe.
That's
and
awesome.
when you see potential, you kind of put a hand in, you see where you can help. So I sent out my CV to a whole bunch of places, and I got a reply back from a dude from Australia, originally from Australia, but actually originally from South Africa, called Mike Smith from your LMG. And he called me in and he was like, "I really liked your CV. I can't pay you, but I liked your CV."
Yes.
That happened a lot. To
But I
pay
really
exposure.
dug him, and he really tried to like pull me in, and it was in the southern suburbs. And basically, next thing I knew, I was contributing to ULMG.
And this is the insane part for me, coming from, because advertising is in anything we do. We are always advertising, whether we think it or not. Whether you got the paperwork or the graduation paperwork, doesn't matter. But now I know from back in the day, and this is an old school generational thing, getting into what you're about to tell us when it comes to working for this mag, I always thought that you need a journo certificate or a degree, you know what I mean? But here you are, you just went off on the bat of...
Well, you could write, and I think back then, if you had knowledge and you got along with the scene, I think you belonged. I think there were a lot of people that couldn't write or
Yeah,
do
they liked it, but
photos,
you-
or
this is
even could
obviously what
play
his talent
music.
is.
To be quite honest, but people were digging in the vibe, and they were grafting.
Yeah.
They were
That's
grafting.
for me, like the whole punk mentality, like whatever, we're going to do it ourselves. But you had a talent as well to add to that, which is like awesome. Just a big up to
You would
for
remember
that.
this. I mean, like we were somewhere. There's a change, an evolution that happened, because it was Blunt magazine, and
Yeah.
it was Wonderboom and Boo and Springbok Nude Girls, and that was cool. And SL magazine, you guys didn't mention that,
Yeah.
that one. And then the internet came, and before we knew it, Fokhof came, Straatligkinders came,
Yeah, and it just
came,
went,
everything
wow.
came, and there was this deluge that was digital most of the times, because you had YouTube back then, you had those things back then. Those things started happening. Bands started. Once had a conversation with my friend Mike Pocock, and he actually had to teach bands and convince them to use Facebook. Can you imagine?
Yeah, because
that wasn't that long ago.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like a lot of us, when the internet boom and these social media booms happen, a lot of the old school staunch, die-hard purists went like this: we're going left. We don't want a part of it. We just walked away.
I want to tell you something that's I think it's a Terry Pratchett quote, and I'm going to misquote it. It's a Douglas Adams quote. I think that's there's a whole thing about, if there's a new technology that happens when you're under 10 years old or before you, that's the way things are supposed to be. This has always been the way. When you're from 10 to 20 years old, there's a new technology that happens. You're like, this is exciting. This is cool. This is something new. Let's grow with it. If you're over 13 and new technology happens, you're like, no, this is unnatural. We should resist against it. And I think part of that happened because there was a lot of change that was happening in that era.
Hence why it'll hit me back on that whole local archiving. Anyway, but carrying on with your point. So now here we are. We're working for a publication. What is our job? What are we doing? I mean, did you not feel like maybe there's not...
So what Mike used to do, the sort of like the way it used to work, is you'd first grind for live reviews.
Okay, what does that mean? You have to go hunt?
So you basically, he will tell you, okay, like you can't choose in the beginning. If you're like well grained in, you can maybe choose.
Right.
But there will be a list of gigs that he has to prioritize.
Right.
And then basically he used to hook it up, put your name on the thing. You used to get a +1, usually a photographer, or you can bring your girlfriend or whatever, a friend maybe. And then you could go and see the live show. And then obviously you could use that as networking at that time. And you could get access possibly to the backstage, or have a beer with the band afterwards, or just, review. That's what you wanted to do.
This is pretty cool for me. This is the early days of actually us taking this stuff seriously.
Because back then you did what you needed to do, even if you went for a review, you would try to go and maybe meet the band, or just, lovey-dovey it up with the PR, Yeah. PR.
See the PR, yeah.
Captain.
No, personal responsibility. Come on, guys. That's a
You
new
had to
one.
take personal responsibility for PR.
Exactly.
And then so you used to do these reviews, and if you worked your way up, you could write a feature.
Yeah.
And then eventually Mike came to me one day, and he knew I wasn't completely happy with the way your LMG looked. And I don't know if anybody remembers, but it was, no offense to the ex-designer.
It was
conservative.
It was conservative, yeah. It was,
and so we
white-ish.
punked it up a bit. We made it a bit more enemy, a bit more that kind of vibe.
More edgier.
And I first did the double-page spread for the cover story, I think it was, and I did the cover. That's right, for Ramfest 4.
Oh, yeah, that was a good.
And what was quite funny was it was Ramfest IV, and I made Ramfest IV the same color, so when you read it from a distance, it was Ramfestive.
Oh, all right.
First designer mistake.
You're ramming festivities. Awesome.
Well, that's a good marketing campaign.
Yeah. We'll work with it. What you got?
And so I did the cover, and he was very happy with it, and he laughed about the cover.
Yeah.
And I became the designer for it, and I became more involved. And I worked with John Monsoon, which was quite kudos, respect. I mean, like, he used to write for Blunt, so working with this dude was like OG, I was like major respect. I never used to ask him questions. I was so intimidated by this dude, and I used to listen. Back then I got really into hardcore, Alex is on Fire, Alisana, that kind of thing. And I used to just listen to, because we used to work in our a coffee office. Right?
For those of you guys who think it's a new trend to go and jack Wi-Fi at a coffee shop, it's the way it is.
At Arnold's, and basically this whole magazine, the editorial was run from Arnold's Cafe. And I used to listen to my hardcore music on my headphones and just design the magazine while John Monsoon was right next to me editing. And then
John
sometimes he would leave.
John Monsoon was the owner of?
John Monsoon, he was the editor for a while.
Of?
Your LMG.
Your LMG, yeah.
Yeah, no, he came like from quite a few places. I think he's involved with Sharks now, like biodiversity or something. Like he does good now. I think he left the music industry.
Right.
I remember going to his house and he had this massive Mary and the Jesus Chain poster, which was hella impressive.
Right.
He was also a Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds fan, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, when you go to a music dude's house, like, there's always paraphernalia.
Yeah, straight up.
Like, always.
Just memorabilia.
Yeah, well, what we were just talking about, you collect music instruments, and this is the first time I'd learned from Johann that he's collecting stuff, and I love collecting music instruments. Anybody that's a music fan, you see, you're a publisher, but at the same time, you've got this avenue that's...
Because you become a geek, you know, like, I don't think...
Music nerds.
Music nerds are the archivists, I suppose.
So it'll all encompass in that. So now we've got John Monsoon's attention, and we are going where? How did we navigate?
So eventually I got the opportunity to write for Mahala.
Which a lot of people don't know, which was a really, really hardcore thing to get into back then. Like, I won't lie to you.
Like, that would be cancelled today, immediately.
Yes,
with immediate effect.
Hence the word hardcore. Yeah, tell us about it, dog.
So I got approached and I asked Mike, I was like, dude, do you mind me writing for this? And he was like, Tekla does it from Text in the City. And she was doing it at that time. And so he was like, go for it, dude. And that's what I started doing. And I remember sitting, it was very weird for me.
So this is you moonlighting, telling your current boss that you want to moonlight.
Yeah. I was honest, dude. I was honest. You know, you want to do the right thing. You know, you don't want to just like, oh, it's my career, it's my business, it's my thing. Like today, like you're like, no, respect, boss. Like, Kanala Ndifuna, can I go with it? You know?
I get you.
Like, I was trying to play nice because this town is small.
Yeah.
You know, like it wasn't like Facebook where, like you could go elsewhere. You know, like you had to like operate within that unit, and I knew we would find out. I mean, my stuff would be published.
Yeah, straight up.
And so unless I chose a pseudonym, which I didn't want to do because I was trying to work for them SEO values.
Yeah. Listen to that. Way before its time, though.
Of course, man. Google Plus got me there, by the way.
I was sad when I heard about them.
Google Plus was the OG for getting SEO sorted out, dude. It was such a
I
little
like
hack.
their thing, and then because obviously I was lazy enough and I'm not that into it. When I heard that they shut down, I still had an account.
Dude, if you
but it wasn't there.
If you updated your Google Plus account, like you would basically type in your name and you'd be like the top result. Like if you did your Google Plus right.
Yeah, they really tried.
It was
but
such
it was
a cool thing, man. It was the best. So where was I? Mahala, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting inside Mahala and I'm like, wow, this is like weird because like it's like I have like this home that I've set up and now I'm like doing another home over here. And I was like, Johann, just chill, you're a writer. And Roger Young told me, Roger Young, which I still have kudos respect for. I mean, he used to write like a bouse. And one of his most killer lines I remember was I think a club or a band that closed down. The article just starts off with, by the time the light of the screen reaches your eyes, this place would be closed.
Damn.
Like he was just so good at that. Like he was...
Like he really made you feel the energy of...
Yeah, and he got me in on that. And I dubbed it kamikaze journalism because he basically said to me like, dude, you've got to go in blunt. Just be blunt. Just be super, super blunt. And I dubbed it kamikaze journalism because, dude, you would kamikaze yourself with the stuff that you used to say.
Yeah. Shout out to Mark Van Niekerk for the kamikazes.
Yes, I mean, what was that? Max Bereshnikov really got into a lot of trouble, and then he would later on go work for FHM. Max Bereshnikov that worked at Mahala, and he got into trouble for making rape jokes, and he took it too far.
And these are the things that now woke people or thereof would say like, oh, when that's being cancelled. But back then, hardcore journalism was basically brutally.
Yeah, I was
brutally going in.
I think the conception,
we needed a voice.
I think the idea was
we're all thinking it. Nobody's saying it. Yeah.
No, but I think back then
I don't think the heavy rape jokes.
If you didn't if you didn't come with tattoos and piercings, and if you didn't know this and that band, you were automatically ostracized
as a poser or in what do you call it, a narc or a
whatever. But you just didn't belong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was negating against old Afrikaans. It was negating against a certain type of South Africa. It was the youth saying, we're rebelling.
Yeah.
We're doing this now. We're going to smoke cigarettes behind the pavilion in high school.
Straight
you know,
well,
like that's what we're going to do now. And I think some people did take it too far. And I think like obviously there was a measurement with it. And I mean like.
Yeah, this rock and rollness is being a cunt.
You know what I think that's finding what's starting to happen now with this thing is finding a balance where we're busy finding out what's okay and what's not. I think those were the early teething problems about figuring out what you can and can't say and what's going to be okay to say and how to do it. But it's teething problems. But the thing is, you've got to push boundaries to find where the line is. You know?
I think in retrospect, looking back, it's like it's just a child testing its boundaries.
It's teething problems. Like this is also something I gotta get to. Being an early adopter, you were the first modder mature of its time, and this is why I celebrate you a lot. Without sucking your dick too much. A lot of the things that you got into and done, it was the first ofs, you know? It's like the first vaccine.
Yeah,
it's the first vaccine. Like, we were the first guys who brought the vaccine out, but we were the ones who brought the vaccine out.
No, I don't.
But now you get to the, you know?
One day I just found myself listening to Yevils. Fantastic. It was Jack Parra actually, but it featured Yevils. I can't remember what it was anymore. And I was just like I was just like in awe. Do you know what I mean? Not at necessarily, because Jack Parra wasn't my first choice. He was amazing. He was amazing, but he wasn't my favorite. But I was in awe of the album, the quality, the production value, and I was like, we made it.
Yeah. Something. This is what I was talking about. There was a specific time that and it's our culture was doing its revolution.
Apartheid ended. We went through this Kwaito phase and stuff, and like spoke about New Girls' obscurity and all that stuff.
Look at our identity.
But now look at this. Yeah. Like this is quality.
This is it. Yeah.
This is quality. This can stand next to any album in the world.
Any in the world.
Yes, man.
And it's good, and it's Afrikaans as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, wow, dude. And it wasn't just that, it was like all the music as well. Like, just like the whole body of work.
Yeah.
It wasn't just this one dude.
It
was a collective.
It was a celebration of.
And you know what?
And it was amazing. It's like, wow, we can do that. We can do the print quality as well as the production quality, as well as the PR, as well as the brand deals, as well as the clubs.
Now, I need to make sure that my listeners do understand.
You don't have any listeners.
Says the dickhead with the top of his head. I need to get back to you now, because now we've got Mahala. We're getting into a space whereby you're being given your voice. You've been given your voice. That's literally what you've been given in a pool of an industry that you are not so familiar with. Here we go.
Well, I mean, like, one thing, like, you know, you if you stick around, you get to see the evolution, you know, and like change doesn't come overnight. It changes like every second.
Yeah, I suppose that's exactly
I
the
mean,
word
even if you look
definition
at
of
like
evolution,
YouTube 2017, which I'm still kind of in love with, it was very much high quality, like travel vibes with a drone and everything that was going on.
Or like what Vimeo for a while was.
If I look
like,
at TikTok, it's a lot cheaper. No offense to TikTok.
It's a lot DIY.
It's on fire. I can't criticize it for that.
It's PR, mate.
But I mean, in terms of the quality that you were getting and the content that was popular, there was this consensus that no, like only
and the drive of excellence.
Only YouTubers with really expensive Canons and
That's
really
the thing.
expensive GoPros can do this.
No, carry on.
So, you know, like that it changes all the time, dude. Like
TikTok
is cool now. I mean, Instagram used to be about coffee cups and shooting your frappuccino
and
eating at Clove Street
they
and stuff.
specifically had to rebrand their whole company halfway through the development, I think, because they had thought they were doing one thing, and then suddenly they realized and they adapted to, oh, this is what it's become. You've got to learn to adapt.
But I think there's just a shift that happens. I think, like, in terms of age groups, I do think that Instagrams is for the, you know, more for the 20 crowd something, and I think TikTok is more younger, and as a result of its popularity have drawn in more crowds.
And everybody our age is like on Facebook still, like idiots.
Bring it back to you navigating into the industry.
I think social media will basically, like TikTok will become like Instagram. That's my best guess right now.
So gents, I want to bring it back to the navigation of your career in terms of
Thank you.
Now we've gone. I mean, there's LMG. I mean, One Small Seed also was on you, because I mean, look,
you can also push them off,
a lot of wait. So I mean, the reason why I'm getting to where I'm at is because you're an illegal. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm not saying because you're from
illegal immigrant.
I'm not saying that because you're from Namibia.
Illegal immigrant.
I'm not saying you're from Namibia and you're from Nama, but what I'm saying is here's a guy who's.
You're going to start a xenophobic thing
Richard Branson. Here's a guy who started at an advertising agency, wanted to start a band, took a hiatus, came back, and then now he's contributing, not writing, contributing, which means developing something that people still in that age didn't know what it was.
You didn't make money, but you could contribute.
Yeah. But I mean, they got you because they knew that you knew what was in with sound, and here you are, all of a sudden, started writing for the LMGs. You started writing for. Except for the blunts, but you started writing for publications which were the first of their times, and now you're in that world. How did you start to celebrate your worth? How did you start navigating? Because now you're working for two bosses. You got Mahala, who's on your board, and they got the yes, you got the nod. Where did we go from there, and how did we realize that, hey, I could go there?
After that, the floodgates actually opened. these weird guys approached me on magazine. And this was also just another like side story, quickly side anecdote. On Mag was basically an exclusive magazine for for tablets, people who had tablets, and they were trying this thing out where they were trying a specific market out. And I started writing for them, and they paid well, and I never saw the articles because I didn't have a tablet.
You didn't have a tablet.
Tablet just like new stuff to me, and I wasn't going to pay the entry fee. And I got paid for that. I worked for Amandla magazine, and you started dabbling with things. And then obviously I made probably my biggest, like one of my biggest more shifts that I wouldn't have made in the early days was I started writing for Biz Community.
Right, which is now still in its
Biz Community is still going
big,
strong.
and it's massive. Yeah.
So I used to work with a girl, I think she studied Michaelis, I think, or Ruth Cooper. And she went on to go work at Biz Community as like one of the head dudes, and she like took a real lead on content, and we started a relationship where basically
and it's got fuck all to do with your AAA fucking
nothing. And I basically started doing Baxter Theatre reviews. Right. Like that's how I met.
Now we're not moving just into what we love as music, but now we're moving into just the whole industry itself.
Yeah, so I dabbled in theatre, and that was always like a side gig. That was like my boxcar racer, if you like. My side band.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it because it muddled the brain a little bit. It changed
There's
ideas.
But I think it's something like with you, anybody that's interested in one field, you interested in a lot of fields, and it's nice to diversify and play with different things because they give you more inputs, or at least.
I think one of the biggest drags working for the music industry, whether you're a musician or a journalist or producer, well, unless you're doing it for the money, I suppose. But I mean, it can excite you to a devilish degree. It can inspire you, and then you have this energy, and once you have that energy, and then that energy exceeds the industry.
Yeah. You actually want to make it, but you can't do it in South Africa back then.
Yeah, it's like I want to write more, I want to design more, like I need to do something else, like I need to do more stuff, but more stuff is not happening. And it's not necessarily not new bands coming out or new music coming out. It's just that, there are only so many places you can go, and only so many places that can accommodate you, because back then it was just moving into digital.
Too small.
It is too small.
Yeah. And you
found out that there were limitations. You found out there were limitations because back then I was very staunch. I was very much into just bands, like Kwaito, anything else. Electronic DJs did not exist in my brain. And then later on, it became more of that, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. This is a sidebar that I didn't think of to ask you, but I have to because I want to draw out something out of you. How did you document your interviews? Did you write them down as an old school way of how your dads and our fathers before us and whoever?
Reading.
Did you write it down, or did you have your dictaphone and put it on the table and recorded your interview with bands or with whoever?
Look, back then, I mean, like, if you recorded on your cell phone, it wasn't as convenient as today.
But it wasn't that time, though.
And when usually
the quality was probably shitty.
it was terrible. And usually what used to happen is you used to, once you recorded something on your phone, you kind of just disregarded it. Yeah. You're just like, okay, it's just my phone now.
No, wait, I can't take another photo because of memory.
So you're saying it was a tool that was on the table, but what you more grasped was like what you heard and you would write.
Yes. And then basically I would dictate those like onto words.
So it was just a point of reference.
So here's the next question. So then you must have a bunch of content.
Oh yes, I do.
And this is what I'm talking about. But I'm getting back to the local archiving, which I believe the people like you are there, sitting on a bunch of stuff which we need to bring back. But anyway, carrying on.
Oh, you light him up, like gaslight him. He's like, oh no,
he's gonna get gaslit.
No, he's gonna.
This is South African Edges. Anyway, but I mean, he knows exactly what I'm saying. He knows exactly the value of who he is without getting the roses that he deserves. But he knows exactly the footprint that you've done. I mean, the unsung heroes, the guys who hang out in the smoky rooms and domineering and negating this industry was you guys. One of you. You were one of those people within the Cape Town to South Africa to Africa sort of footprints of archiving, or not even archiving at the time, documenting.
Well, at
it.
least journalistically, like, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you said like bad cell phone stuff, but now digital documentation is becoming better. But yeah, he was at least recording something.
So for you, was living in the moment, not metaing it.
So what is really great is, obviously, you know, I think when you're working in that industry, you kind of take the band mentality. It's like, don't listen to my B-sides, my man. Like, it's if you need to listen to it, it's on the main album.
Yeah,
okay?
there it is. That's it.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't show you my notes.
Yeah, no, of course.
So you take a kind of similar approach when it comes to the stuff. So I wouldn't always feel comfortable. I don't think there's really any value. Maybe someday, but not now, in terms of listening to old voice recordings. What I would rather prefer people do, and I mean, this is where sadly, I mean, like your LMG, a lot of it is lost. And one of the things that I lost, I mean, like, dude, I've got 3 ULMGs left on original PDF.
Listen to that.
They were test PDFs. They were not print ready, but you can still read them. Not the best quality.
And now
but
it's
there.
gold, right?
But the hard drive that the original InDesign files were on are gone, my bro. And there are at least, like, I think about 9 or 15 issues. And I've only got 3.
And this is the documenting of a very specific time in our history where it was our early progression and evolution of South African music taking ownership of itself, like actually being its own voice after apartheid regime. Like, it was
I ran
important.
into Mike several years later at a restaurant, Sufruga it was. And we had both changed careers, and I'd rather not mention anything.
Doesn't matter.
But he basically asked me, where's the hard drive? Like, do you still have the old stuff?
Bro, don't you have it?
And I had to tell him that it's broken. And like Mike, if you're listening, like, I know he didn't message me for a while. Like we kind of like, it just kind of stopped there, you know? And it felt like someone died.
Yeah, because it did die.
Yeah, and you know what's also the thing is, like you say, we come from a generation where we actually valued some of the old cataloged stuff. New generation, everything's throwaway culture. I think certain things happen, and I think we've got to stop doing that, because there is such value in the documentation, and we're starting to slowly but surely. I mean, at least and it's maybe just us old people.
And this is what I want to bring back. It's got nothing really to do about generational. It's a local factor, because what we do here on the South African Edges is we're bringing back that local is cool without the whole rainbow nation. Local is liquor. No, the real local is cool. You know, there's a value in what we have.
No, but you see now, this is where you need to, like, the responsibility.
We're not responsible.
What is the responsibility of content? Like, if some random band, say, puts out an album today, or in 2006, say, and it's on a disc, and they've got a feature in a magazine or whatever, whose duty is it to look after that?
Yeah.
Because the assumption is usually, the band will do it because, you know,
that's
their
their stuff. Or the label will blah, 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 blah.
Exactly, but the label doesn't care because
They made their money.
It's a money thing for them, and sometimes they archive it if it is part of their catalog. They're not an archiving business.
No, they're not an archiving business.
Honest.
That's the number. That's not an archiving business.
And the copyright and the IP on that music might fail and go elsewhere, and so now the responsibility, unfortunately, in that sense, falls onto the fan.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
suppose
gonna-
that's what's also brought back a lot of
I'm gonna bring-
fans.
So this becomes a moral issue because of piracy.
Yeah. Now I'm going to bring it to.
Bring it to cool. What do you bring?
All of that into a conference.
In a circumference.
Circumference.
It's
Sir
circle-
Lord conference.
No.
Coming for
it's
Sir
a
Lord.
circle, because we're back at geometry. We brought it back.
Told you that in the beginning. Jacuz.
Geometry episode.
Bring us to Digital Shelf. Bring us to Slow. Now we've grown older. We realize the band's not going to make it.
Stuff happened in between, but basically, eventually, I went to go work for Muse magazine.
Yeah.
And that's when I started working with Dave Mack. And those were really cool years. Like, we grew fast and hard in terms of, like, personal growth. And
Without
also just
even knowing
everything.
it, or with this, I mean, sure, it was always a plan, but I mean, you
Yes.
just didn't realize what you guys were biting into.
But I suppose the seed was planted by Dave
Not one small,
Mack. Really.
Yeah,
But
he was-
Digital Shelf goes back to Dave Mack in that sense, I suppose.
Yeah. Shout out Dave Mack.
Maybe we'll get
Like,
on one
so
day.
basically one day he stopped me and he was like, you know, we're doing all this stuff for bands. You know, we're sending out tweets and Facebooks and we're writing articles and stuff. We should do that for people. Like, you know, like we should maybe talk about that one day. And it was just like as a random conversation, you know, like very briefly, you know, and then eventually we did.
And I think, you know, it's the beginning of something new, and I feel we're not like as groundbreaking you were, but I think that's what we're trying to do on the show. We are doing new. We're like, okay, cool, test.
And eventually I had to make, and this was hard, Dennis. This was very, very hard. But music was unfortunately killing me. Like I reached my end. And it was an incredibly hard decision to make.
Yeah, because you loved what you were doing.
I loved what I was doing, but I was making no difference, Dennis. I was writing 8 news articles a day. I was doing interviews at night.
Unsung hero.
And, you know, what Dave liked about me is the fact that, I mean, back then I started working for BPM and stuff like that. And what he appreciated about me was the fact that I would talk about not music. Because I think that's the number one mistake.
Because people think it's just music.
A lot of early bands make. It's like, dude, nobody cares about your bass
album,
line.
Yeah,
and if they're fans, they actually want to hear the other stuff.
Dave had the most perfect advice the way he told it, and I think he put it in as a joke. He was like, Johann, people don't want to know how they recorded that bass line. They want to know how much cocaine he took in the morning.
It's a laugh factor, but it's unfortunately the truth.
It's
Absolute
immediate truth because
Absolute
people
truth.
look for scandal, people look for story, they look for moment. They don't care how you wrote the bass line, they care about the emotions that got you there.
Hence why the digital footprint these days are what are they doing day to day instead of what music are they putting out?
No, but I think it's back into building a personal profile. People are more into people that they love your music.
But that's what PR is great for. That's what PR is supposed to do. Public relations.
No, personal responsibility.
Or whatever.
And so eventually I had to basically do what I had to do. Like I went into travel basically, and I found a cushy job where I could just look at the view for a while.
Yeah, and just
breathe.
It's not about me
and
now.
Just breathe.
Like just give me the brief.
As the kids would say, self-care.
Yeah.
I was doing some self-care. And
you can take away from a scene that's very specific. I understand
and
that.
it was very easy for me to write about travel because the emotions were not involved. And I could listen to the music I wanted to do. And you know the first song I listened to? Because I was like, finally, I don't have to like pretend that this coolest cool band is the coolest. Right? I listened to TLC Waterfall, bro.
Well, there you go.
I was like, I've been jonesing this and I wanted to listen to it guilt-free. And now that my subscription is no more.
No more nervous wreck.
I can do this.
Right.
And I was like, damn, I miss this. Like, just like enjoying
just
whatever
enjoying
music comes.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Like enjoying it as a listener, not as a critic or a
Richard
journalist.
Gunn from Gunn Wineries. What do they do again? It's bloody hell. I used to work with him. His dad owns a wine farm. Is it Iona? I think it's Iona. And he said to me, that's how you kind of like see like a fake sort of wine connoisseur from a real wine connoisseur.
Yeah.
Is if the real wine connoisseur will tell you about a cheap wine he likes.
Yeah.
So TLC is my cheap wine.
What's guilty pleasures?
Left Eye, dude. Lisa Left Eye Lopez.
Yeah, no, but he's Captain is right. It's that guilty pleasure of like, it's the simple beginnings of where it started.
And he's hitting my nerve in the 90s.
Just enjoying tunes, my bro.
So
just
yeah,
enjoying
man.
Tunes.
Let's celebrate. This is where the flowers start. I mean, now we got Digital Shelf. I mean, talk to me because look, you walked away from something. Listen to me when I say this. I believe it's like what you told me the other day. That we should have got into coding for gaming and for. You're right. We should have. We should have stuck at it. Actually, it's not even about getting into it. We should have stuck at what we were doing. You didn't stick at what because it was just fun. You were the first, and it was like it was a proving grounds for a lot of people, and it was like and you got to deal with this bureaucracy and that bureaucracy. You walked away from it because you were just what a loss, yeah. But now you taking a little bit of a hiatus because you feel like I need to get back to myself because I want to just check because you started hating music. Am I wrong? I'm not saying
the biggest problem with music, and this counts for even people listening to BTS, right?
Do you hate listening to artists that are coming up?
I'll answer that now. I need to make this point though. I think the biggest problem with like music is you think it lasts a lifetime until it doesn't, and then it's over. Like if you mention your band when you're 40 or 50, nobody's gonna care,
bro.
They're gonna be like, we're into this now.
I'm almost there.
You're gonna seem archaic. You're gonna seem old, and things move along in that sense. So I felt like an imposter if I pretended that the new music was coming in was my kind of
And so
vibe.
holding on to that.
Yes, and I've been here before, and I've seen bands go that I really loved, that I really cared about, that I didn't see get the recognition that they deserved.
That's a well-told South African tale.
Very,
yeah.
and sadly, it's a common one.
And
it's the
it
most
brings
commonest
me
one.
back to what I was going to go to. Anyway,
Are we going to call you Kid Clever, bringing it back?
digital shelf.
He's
Let's
bringing
get
sexy
there.
back. This is Flashback Friday.
And it's Thursday. That's how flashbacky we are.
So we're getting to you, digital shelf.
Digital shelf. So basically, eventually, the idea kind of stuck around that, look, so digital shelf happened as an accident. So I was working in travel, and one day I get this phone call from a company called Toesberg, and they want to sell property. So I'm like, dude, I work in travel. And he's like, we've been spending this much with the burger and this much with that person. We need your advice, man. We need your expertise. So I'm like,
Again, as an imposter.
From what I need to know, from what I know, and back then I was to be working with a travel agency. We were doing networking with Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and that kind of stuff and Boost and so forth.
Before it started.
So back then the idea of native content was coming into a boom, and I said to him, well, look, I can probably do native content for you. So I figured, okay, cool, this might be an interesting, fun exercise, And I went to my boss and I was like, yo, do you mind if we do this as a project? And so we did Toesberg, and I got a guy from Twitter involved. And then through that, I started Digital Shelf. And I was like, cool, we actually have a thing going on here. And then we got a few restaurants. We got La Petite Tarte was the first clients. We got Simply Be, Deziku, a lot of travel clients, mostly because we were relying on that network. And I knew music didn't have money, no offense.
Yeah, it still doesn't. Well, in
Offense
SA
taken.
at least.
And that's how it basically began. And that was Digital Shelf in the early days. And back then you might find this interesting, we didn't even have cameras. I shot everything on my Samsung S5.
Yeah, big up
and I knew Photoshop well enough to just kind of get away with it. It's funny how we've actually completely gotten back to cameras. We went from cameras to DSLR back to cameras, phone cameras. And that's how Digital Shelf started. Very humble beginnings. Yeah. And it was more of an adult decision, really, Dennis, in that sense.
No, but I think also from what I'm gathering a little bit, it's not necessarily passion in that specific industry, but you were passionate about promoting local kind of stuff, and it's what your skill set that you had. Like if I'm not incorrect here, like you had a certain kind of skill set, you had an opportunity, and you try to grow that into a financial kind of reward as well.
I think maybe like a more popular example would be like, look at Franscha van Cook. Okay, like he might be doing running and boxing and stuff, but he still plays the role of frontman.
Yeah, that's his main.
So I still get to do media. I still get to do media, and that's cool. I came for the writing, I came for the visuals, I came for the pretty pictures, and I'm still doing that. Yeah. And that pays the bills and it does things. Yeah. And obviously, the more sort of passionate part, because I think you need to take a sorbet in life, and I think Digital Shelf was that, and it's that foundation for me. Yeah. And I think sometimes the boring stuff, not that Digital Shelf is at all boring. I love all my clients. I love the work that I do. But it's certainly, it's not my first love. Yeah. Let's put it like that.
The super passionate love. It's not like the real. It's not the side bae. It's like your regular married wife.
So beneath all of that, what makes me very happy about doing Digital Shelf is the fact that I get to make a difference. Yeah. Like all of that information, like I might not be doing a local band, but I do a local restaurant.
But it's being archived, which is.
And the bands are bigger now. I used to work with 3-4 piece. Now it's like a hotel is like 200 people. You know what I mean?
But now you are. Sorry for interrupting you, but you are creating the museum for the digital museum. The archiving is happening, and which is your social responsibility, your public responsibility, which you always got back to, because you don't want to be a liar.
That's one of the things we do, Dennis, for some of our clients, our bigger clients. Like we make sure that it is in our agreement with them and we make sure that they know. And I don't think they always realize.
Yeah, they don't see the value yet.
I don't think they always realize, but we say to them, like, dude, we keep the hottest photos, and we store the original raw files. Like that one day is, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like that's going to be your history. That's
and you know,
your,
in the
that's
age
your
of
rock on the
everything,
wall.
everybody thinks that things.
Nobody's going to remember, like, because they can't visit you now in 50 years. Like, but they can see your photos and they can get a sense of what it was like.
What it was like.
Yeah,
we're not
going to evolve beyond nostalgia. We all, as human beings, love nostalgia, and now you're recording it. Like, and well, actually keeping documentation.
So, I know you're a busy man, and I know you got things to do.
No. Like, this is where, like, you've chatted. You've chatted to Johann for way too long now. I'm frustrated.
I'm enjoying this, gentlemen.
No, this is not about you, Johann. Oh no, he's our guest.
South African Edges.
Like, you've heard a little bit of history, his introduction into his media world, what he has meant to the world that he's outlet. But there's a much more personal part that I would just want to thank him for, because I'm very advocating the new world where we are actually thanking people face to face for what they've done for us. It's a new
celebrating
world.
the living legends.
Thank you.
And Johann was a massive part, I'm going to tell the story in a second, of making this project happen, because I think you invited Dennis to a meeting that you wanted to do a project, and then I tagged along because I'm his idiot manager, whatever, and we had...
Idiot manager?
He is the captain.
Yeah.
You're the captain, dude.
All management, sorry, schizophrenic.
You can navigate geometry.
I love it, bringing it back to the thing. But what I want to say, thank you, Johann, so much, because it was, obviously we chatted a little bit in the first episode about our background and a couple of things that we've done and a couple of projects that were going anywhere. We knew we had some good ideas and we had some good concepts, and then we met him. I'm pointing at Johann. We met Johann, and there was suddenly like a re-spark. It was like there's a
resurgence,
a trigger to, oh wait, we can actually do this, and it reignited some ideas in my head. It reignited some ideas in his head, and our conversation, which was a very beautiful, long, drunken conversation at a bar, that happened to turn this into this. So thank you, Johann.
It's a pleasure, dude.
So much, man.
It's a
like
pleasure,
you
man.
were, what's a catalyst? That's the see English.
I'm the catalyst.
You
That's
were
my
the
DJ name,
catalyst.
Dennis.
The catalyst.
DJ Catalyst. Really appreciate that. Johann is obviously a busy man. He's okay with doing things, but I think actually you and I have things to do still.
Well,
so we're going to say goodbye.
There's one last thing I want to ask him.
sorry,
There's one thing I want to ask him.
Yeah.
Jean-Marc Johannes, can I get a scoop on that? Or am I allowed to, or is that still a bit in the background?
To sort of maybe wrap two things up together. Somewhere, and this is where Anya comes in specifically, because when she came into my life and we started Digital Shelf, and we started doing the clients and everything, she was doing a publication called Going Somewhere Slowly, and I was like, if you're gonna get involved with Digital Shelf, like, how do we do, like, what happens to that? And I negotiated. We went all business, and basically together we own Digital Shelf and Slow. And so that's the new name of Going Somewhere Slowly. That's just the relaunch name. But we still kept the heritage, for the Slow Pit. And that sort of was that inkling bit in the back of my brain that was like, it was scratching at me, because obviously the list is still there, you still want to jam a little bit.
We're going to do it.
And Slow is my band in that sense. And Slow is like what I consider it's a new navigation. We're still writing songs. It's still very fresh. It's still very
like,
new.
Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Mom. I know you wanted this, but this is really what's going to, like, what I want.
But this is early Blink 182. It's still rough. And I don't mind that. It will grow into something, and I want to support local through that. We want to take like just local, international a little bit, and just tell our stories. I think every time you like set out to do something, I mean, you go to a museum and you see a cave painting, like someone made that.
Yeah, I do.
And like when you
somebody also curated it, and it's a lot of what you're doing. You're curating.
So every time you sit down, you make something. You're doing a cave painting. Like, you don't know how far this will go. Like a magazine might last longer than an MP3, because MP3s get lost on discs that fail.
Yeah, that's true.
So you don't know what's going to happen in the future. Like, you don't. And that's very vital. And so to get back to Jean-Marc as well, I mean, that was an interesting thing, because one of the sort of shows we run is with Chef Judy. and she hosts celebrities during brunch. And the cool concept about the show is they actually cook whatever they want. So we literally asked Francois van Coke when we had him, like, what do you want? What's your favorite thing? And obviously it was meat.
Like your guilty pleasures and your things.
And so Jean-Marc had like this big seafood do. I don't want to give everything away.
Yeah.
Watch the show.
Yeah, our link's going to be up there.
So yeah, I don't know when is the show coming out? Because
Wednesday the 1st of September.
Out the 1st of September, spring day.
Today, in other words.
It could be first. Let's see if it can be first. So hopefully if it's either existing or non-existing, I'll tell them to update the description. So yeah, we interviewed Jean-Marc. We actually got him to skateboard out of the restaurant afterwards. So that was pretty cool. And Chef Judy actually had money that she was flanking like a rapper.
Like a Persian rapper.
Can I side note, interesting, referencing cave painting, they just discovered something when, you know what cave paintings look like, they sometimes have like two heads, the animals and stuff, and there was a historical document where the people, it's what now they're discovering is possibly a theory that was the first movies. Because cave paintings, what they were, everybody went in with super bright lights and they saw it flat on the surface of the wall. And what happened if you've got candlelight, suddenly the light flickers and it's an
3D.
animation. It was the first time animation thing.
Sorry. Some people are stupid, don't worry about it. Anyway.
Dude, this was African people. That's the first people.
No, I'm saying the candle pot.
Jesus.
Anyway, Jacques. Johann?
So yeah, if I could just close off on that note, I think it's okay to sell out. I think it's okay to sell out because if someone's buying, that means they're seeing the potential.
No, you know what? We're going to change it. We're going to change it to South Africans. We're going to sell in.
I think they're seeing the potential in you if they're buying. And if it so happens to be American or overseas, then so be it, my dude.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't really define anything because on the end of the day, Trevor Noah is South African.
And if you can keep
That's
projecting
part of
your
our
art,
canon,
exactly,
my guy.
Man.
It doesn't matter if it's American. Fuck off. That's us, my
And
man.
we've got a gold medal in the 100 meter relay.
All of it.
juniors.
Steve Hofman, alles.
All of it.
Norm, whatever you want to talk about, it's us.
So for me, why I'm so honored to have been in your realm and been in your world is that you've always believed in just being a South African.
You're going to cry.
Being a South African, and not only just being a South African, but being an African, and not only just being an African, but just don't think that content is content. It is your life story. That is what it is. The footprint that in the digital, because now things are digital, but the footprint should be laid down. And when you get a PR, pay the PR. When you
pay everybody they do.
Yeah.
The sound guy especially.
Pay everybody they do.
Yeah, man, you know most.
Don't blaspheme. Step on, they need to, they have to, I am.
Everybody.
That is an American philosophy.
Music, everything, media is a team effort.
It's a team effort.
It's a collaboration.
And this is why I understand that,
catalyst.
if I have had a little perverted insight on your career, is that you have not only DIY'd, which what we do here on The South African, you have DIY'd everybody else within it and trying to make out
and made
a
it
good
work.
product and make it work. And that's,
you bring what you can, dude. You bring what you can.
And I celebrate that, my man. It's been so swell. We are definitely going to have another deep dive interview with you. This because there's going to be a lot of things.
When we get our Patreon, we're going to get into the real
we have
stuff,
to. We have to have you back. You've been such a pleasure.
Thank you,
It's been cool, man. It's been cool. Thank you for having me, dude.
No,
Thank you
dude.
for having me.
You are the part of the start. I'm just before the listeners, I shook his hand. Dennis shook his hand.
Geometric fun, my bro.
Like, away. See you in a bit. We'll be back in a minute.
We'll be black.
Cool.
Wait. Let me tell you where we are.
I know where we are.
No, you don't. Did you thank people? You thank people.
And we are back. Thanks to Johann so much for that unbelievable, awesome interview. That is so in depth.
Remember to remove the fact that he mispronounced.
Yes. You've already sent me the voice note. I've already got that.
Okay, cool. So remember to remove that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Johann.
Cool. Now, I think after we've chatted to him, where are we today? Where are we? Hey?
Well, I mean,
we're here
we had.
No, we shouldn't give them free advertising. We won't bleep it. We'll bleep it out. Eventually we'll get them to advertise. We'll get paid for it. But no, for the rest of the episode, guys, we've got a couple of things for you. This is our Lord Dennis Leach and Johann were kind of running the first little bit. I've got a couple of things that I want to jump into. And the first thing is our regular spot, question time.
Jacques.
It's question time. Yeah.
Can he ask the question and then pause so I can like dunk?
She's licking her lips as she's pausing.
Okay.
Would you rather shit your pants at a job interview or at a first date?
Job interview.
First date. First date.
I would say first date because everyone shits and you should know that I shit.
A first date? You can ignore that motherfucker after that.
First date.
Absolutely first date, but I have to work there, okay? Can you just imagine what it's going to be like going to work? You think you're going to get the job after you shit yourself? Then I need to start sleeping with a different boss.
I would shit myself at an interview.
At an interview?
At an interview. Show them just how nervous I am and just how much I want this.
I would do a job interview because it means less to me than...
No, it could be like the first icebreaker, you know? Listen, I shit my pants.
Shitting yourself's not a good idea, but rather a job interview than a job interview. You're like, sit there. I'm okay. You gotta sit there in that. Show perseverance.
Question 2. If you had a choice to eat any part of an animal for the rest of your life, penis or the asshole?
Ass. Ass. I would eat the penis because it kind of reminds me of a sausage anyway. Ew,
I don't like that.
Exactly, and shit comes out of it, but a penis, it looks like a sausage.
What, is the ass the whole thing or just like where the poop comes? Can I cook it before?
You know what sticks in my head? Is Austin Powers. When they take his libido, it's that purple shit. That's all I can think about. Is like the purple shit that is inside Austin Powers' penis.
I think I would eat an anus, I think, because I've had tribe before and it's amazing. And it's basically shit. And if that's where the shit comes from, so it probably tastes the same.
But
That depends on if the ass is clean. Generally the penis is clean. No, that smell always stays there.
a penis because I feel you can do a lot more different kinds of dishes with it. You can fry it, you can bake it. Do the same thing with an asshole though.
I would go penis because then you can chop it up in like and you can do like hot dogs with the asshole. You just got that.
See, I can't believe nobody asked like hard or flaccid.
If you had one question to ask X, what would it be?
And they'd have to answer truthfully.
Are you sure you're not gay? It's like, don't worry, Amy. You guys are going to break up because he's going to come out as gay.
They told you.
They told
Don't
you.
worry.
So now my question is, are you sure you're not gay?
What's hell like?
I don't really have anything to ask my ex because we became friends.
Is she dead?
No, we became friends afterwards. We spoke about everything.
If you met me now, would you still date me?
Would you do a redo?
Was it worth it? You don't have to know anything. You just go,
Was it worth it? And they
I
go,
don't want to know
white
anything.
face, like whatever they're guilty about will come out right there.
Yeah. I would ask her how she's feeling. So at the moment, like, how are you? That was the sweetest answer we've had out of everyone. It was like,
was the sex really that good? Was the sex because I know I'm a lot better now. You were my training ground, so how good was it really? Like, be honest.
You cheating on me the whole relationship.
Oh, wow. Why did you leave it for so long to fuck me over?
Or whatever. Do you think about anybody else when you're having sex with me?
No, baby, no. I only think about you off face.
One, why aren't you dead? 2, will you marry me?
Oh.
Did I figure as much as you did?
That's the big ones about I'm going to end off now with, as you die, you've got one word you want to say for posterity just before you die. I want you to shout it out in 3, 2, 1. She
says you are 16!
Die in a fire!
I am your father.
What we're also going to be doing in future, guys, with the question times, you listen to those questions. We are, every now and again, if we're going to get a chance, we're going to put up on our website, on our Gmail, we're going to ask you to send us some voice notes answering the questions beforehand. In case we can't get to a gig, if we can't see you guys out and about, it's pretty simple. You record a voice note as if you're sending to a friend, then all you do is you email it to our Gmail address, which is thesouthafricanedgespodcast@gmail.com.
I think as creative and as eccentric as possible.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just be
We'll give
yourselves.
examples,
I mean,
like, we'll have
I
the whole
really,
spiel.
I really would love the fun to happen.
Yeah, the fun answers. We all want fun answers, man. Like, it's all got to be good.
And
you know what? Also, you must know, Dennis, like, or Lord Dennis, with questions, we want people to suggest stuff, eh? Like, we want, you know.
Yeah, like I said, as
topics of conversation.
Especially when it comes to this part of the segment. Fuck that motorbike. Why do people have that?
It's real. This is like,
why do people have that? Especially when it comes to what the captain was saying. If even you have obscure questions that you would like us to broadcast and have people ask, do it. Sit with your friends and do the same thing. You know?
Exactly.
We would
Record
love to
them,
hear.
or even just type it to us. We'll just sit and discuss it. We'll get random people to
Email
answer
address,
your questions.
right?
Yeah, the email
address.
is the South African Edges Podcast @gmail.com. Super easy. It'll be up on our YouTube videos in the links
My
and in the
request is
description.
as eccentric as possible.
Yeah.
My new word.
And you know what the whole thing is again, we talked about it in the first episode. We want to talk about our stuff, not boring shit that you're going to see on the Graham Norton show or the Tonight Show. This is our local content made for us and what's important to us on the
South
edges.
African edges.
Yeah,
that's correct.
And not the triangles.
No,
not the
forget those
rhombuses.
There's the rhombuses.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Listen, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So what do you think of my main man, Johann? He's just like is an encyclopedia.
Dude, he's a legend. Like, I mean, I've chatted to you about it. I was expecting a very short interview. He's so in depth. I think we're definitely going to have to get him on again.
Follow up.
And you know what, guys that are listening now, I'm going to keep the full interview because we're going to have to edit a little bit just because we don't want to have too much of a long interview. And one of these days we'll launch the extended versions with all the expertise and the experts that we meet. Okay, nobody knows that.
They'll know.
By episode 3, they'll know. We'll get to that point.
Yeah. Like, just for me, like, besides you being one of the most terrible human beings that I know, he is one of the most terrible human beings also I know.
We try.
This is the library of information, man. You know, never a dull moment. Yeah, and
exactly. It's that kind of knowledge, and I think what we've always tried to do with this format, with any kind of work that we do, we want to share this information. We've got to work together. We've got to stop competing against each other.
Exactly.
Information is evolutionary.
Yeah, that's true.
We should be sharing it with each other and growing as a species. And then we get hit by a meteorite or a COVID,
and then we have a drink.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think now the other two things that I've got still today, I'm going to start off with just a little bit of a warning. Obviously, we've told you at the top of this thing, adult content. I'm not going to tell you too much more. We're going to play track of the day.
Oh yeah!
It's that time again.
Track of the day.
Ja, hierdie liedjie is fucking lekker.
Yes, ik ga dus nou, man.
And just quick to you guys that are listening, not telling you anything else, but this is satire, this is comedy, and it's by the Offensive Collective.
I think we should have a warning.
No,
if you are offended, you are about to...
Just so you guys, if you're easily offended, switch off this podcast
and
now.
Leave your life.
Okay, here's the tune. It's beautiful.
Boom.
I'm in love with my sister. I'm in love with my sister. It's true. I touch tongues with my sister. I just can't resist her anymore. Our first child had only 7 toes. Our second child was born without a nose. Incest is the best. Keep it in the family. Keep it in the family. so in love with my brother. We like to double team my mother. At night, I'm in love with my butt. He lets me use my foot in his biome. Incest is the best. Keep it in the family. Keep it in the family. Incest is right. Me, my sister, and my dad. Me, my sister, and my dad. My sister says, please stop. But she doesn't know that it's opposite day. Opposite day today. Incest is the best. Keep it in the family. Keep it in the family. Incest is right. Me, my sister, and my dad. Me, my sister, and my dad. Our first child had only 7 toes. Our second child was born without a nose. Incest is the best. Keep it in the family. Keep it in the family. Incest is right. Me, my sister, and my dad. Me, my sister, and my dad. My sister says, please stop. But she doesn't know that it's opposite day. Opposite day today. I know what it's not. It's not opposite day. Opposite day today. It's family time. All the time at my house. At my house. Family time is my favorite time.
Yeah, it is the best. It is
always the best, bruh.
Listen, I can't really relate. Or maybe, who knows? Thank God to Facebook, actually, because a lot of people have found out that they are cousins. Distant cousins.
Yeah, you never know.
You don't. Until that one braai or that one moment when you had a little bit of encounter with somebody. And this actually,
long lost.
You know what? This actually brings me to how Cape Town is very small and the cesspool of relationships.
Yeah, man, I was gonna try and divert it from the deeper conversation that you're getting
Well,
into.
I mean, I had to bring it up because it made me feel a little bit of a somewhat.
I've got some interesting stories about it. First of all, the Offensive Collective are a group of mates of mine
please,
and everybody.
Please. Everybody, wait. So the track, back announce the track.
Okay. We know the title. It's by the Offensive Collective, which is a collective of people, which is a lot of old friends of mine. I'm not going to mention my name because they don't want to.
They know your name already. That's too late.
But I'm going to mention their pseudonyms because remember, everybody in a certain area, you always got little code names or nicknames or whatever. Yeah. So to Flops, to Goeie and Grootste Treffers, MC Vulgar, Snowy, George, Jew. There's so many other collaborators, and I think all of their wives were involved in the writing of this as well.
Can I ask you a question? Like, are some of those people that you mentioned, some of them still alive though?
All of them are alive.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay,
and we're not going to say his full name because it'll be too recognizable, but AKA David Guetta, AKA Jesus, who's definitely performing the biggest thing to him and his wife and everybody that's involved with the song. Love your work, guys.
As a pseudo fan, I have to ask why and how did this come about?
Yeah, you see,
Why
now
did
this is-
we have to dig, bro.
This was a bit of it. I'm a little bit afraid about
Are you
telling
afraid to
too
say-
much of this conversation away in case people know who we're talking about.
No, but I just
look,
kind of
it
like, give me a
develops-
scenario.
Okay,
Like,
what happened, there was a couple of drunken nights with people sitting around, and then it started off with one line of the song, and then things developed, and it grew, and there was more lyrical adding, and then people started, a couple of our mates that know how to play guitar, added some guitaring to it, and it's now evolved over a lot of time with different people in this group, so much so that I'm going to tell you the most amazing story with Johann and Treffers. His wedding, all of us went up to Nature's Valley to backpackers, and we were sitting around the campfire. It was all wedding people and some foreigners that were there as well. Next thing, one of our mates whips out the guitar, starts playing the chord. We all
go around the campfire.
All of us know the lyrics. All of us singing with the lights
Dude,
out.
listen to me. Do you know why I think it's such a fucking goosebump moment? Is because the tone and the melody of it.
Oh, it's
such a
beautiful.
It's around the camp. It's like one of those kumbaya campfire type of.
Dude, and like it was mostly, I think, Dutch tourists at the time. They looked at us
didn't
like, what is
understand.
this, a hit song? How do you guys all know it's just I agree with that. And how horrible is, they thought we'd like release albums and stuff. Meantime, it's just us bunch of weirdos. The Offensive Collective.
Was there Offensive Collective around?
No.
Wait. Were they around the? I just died in your arms. Were they part of that?
All of those people are
Okay, so
involved.
a lot of
people.
I mean, so for you listeners, you guys are probably like, a lot of inside jokes are happening, or inside information is happening. I just died in your arms tonight. My experience
By
of
Cutting
this.
Crew.
My experience of this was how we find each other at festivals.
Yeah.
So, and
Just
if you
do
want
the
to
call
take
up.
that over.
Oi!
Yeah. So
And
if
then
you're
somebody else
lost,
goes, oi!
then you know where you find your people in
See, now what's going to happen after this episode, so many people are going to use it, and it's not going to be your friends you're going to go to, but at least you're going to find your community.
You'll find your community,
There
yeah.
we go.
So are they a part of that?
They were the originators of it. Well, Johann and Treffers, I think, was the start of it. I helped spread it a little bit, and other people spread it around to different people. It grew organically. You know how it is. Now, from now on, just to let everybody know, we are going to be doing at least one track every single day, either released by me or by you or by one of our guests.
Our guests, or maybe.
No, I'm going to get to that. Give me a second. Our guest or us, one of us. And then what we're also going to do is what we want is, because this is for us, we are now finding a platform where we can release music where we didn't really have one before. So anybody that feels that they don't have a platform and they're making stuff that they think we might like, send it to us.
Yes.
And we'll start playing it. And this is where I'm building into the next bit. The Captain, no, it's not the Captain, it's not even, it's TSAEP, the South African Edgespodcast, recommends. I'm going to build a little bit of a radio spurt for our third episode, where we're going to be bringing the music that people have got out there. We're going to be talking about shows and stuff that we're watching at the moment, some music stuff that we're liking. Yeah. I've got some content on that right now.
Funny he says this to you guys. It's not even just that good finds. If you've got good finds and you think that like it will be cool or whatever.
Yeah, specifically that we'll recommend that. But when it comes to track play, we want local artists. We want the guys that they have the rights. They don't have a
big
record label
or
they
like
kind of
publishing.
releasing exactly. So
like
that we can be their platform and then they can grow from there. Obviously, we're not going to take the rights. It's still theirs. We are an archaic society of free thinkers. It's yours is yours. We're never going to take your copyright or whatever material.
No, definitely.
Where's my lawyer?
Well, if you're going to talk about the cripple, you just left.
Talking on that, the recommends, because I kind of mentioned to you a little bit the other day, I know a lot of people by the time this episode has come out has started watching it. Without giving too much away, brand new cherry Flavour.
So I was at your house, right? Like 2 days ago, and we're just sipping through the intravenous web.
No, it was on Netflix. You can say Netflix.
Yeah, okay.
It was on Netflix.
And I just couldn't get on the name. Wow, I watched it from the beginning till end. How do you explain that series?
See, what because I had to think about it as well, because it's such a.
How do you explain that
I think
series?
it's like Pan's Labyrinth was kind of horror and it was kind of folk tale thing. Now this is like that, but it's much more adult content. Where Pan's Labyrinth was, like a nursery tale of
So and it was a bunch of nursery tale. Nursery, what do you call them?
But it's still got the weird, grotesque horror feel without it being a jump scare thriller, which is what I love. There's so many comedy horror bits in it.
I won't lie to you. Wow. Like,
and also, you know what was one of my favorite bits? Because it's based in the 90s, obviously me growing up in the era, they're playing so much great music from that era that I love. It's
like
amazing.
Captain, you know I don't like horrors.
Yeah.
But
Well,
this
this
was,
is different.
This is very different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like horrors. I'm not into, especially when it comes to supernatural shit, like the realistic type of stuff. Like, which is this show is very much the like type of.
It's not that realistic. It's super fantasy, dude.
It's fantasy, but it gets into the Wicker and it gets a bit into
we don't want to give too much away in case people haven't watched it, but we do recommend it.
That is definitely a recommend.
Then that was viewing wise. I kind of had a little bit of chat with you. Recommend musically because there's a big conversation that I want to have. It's about creating.
Before you continue,
yeah, cool.
One thing I really was disappointed in because me and you and I love watching series that got great sound score. Not sound scoring. What is it called? Soundtracks.
Sound designs.
No, just like sound,
music.
Yeah, just like and that was very disappointing. I mean, that was a minus for me. Of the
brand new cherry.
Yeah,
I was just saying they had really good music.
I don't think so.
No, okay, maybe that's your opinion, and that's why other people can choose what they want to do with that.
But I mean, check it out.
We're allowed to disagree.
Check it out. Check it out.
Exactly. Check it out. Okay, next thing, my recommends, I had a little bit of a chat with you about this, and it's a whole lead into what I think I've always tried to progress or teach people about listening to music. You need a story to really enjoy music that you don't understand.
Yeah.
Because so many people love the music that they've listened to before, but struggle to take on new music unless there's a good story behind it, unless there's a little bit of character, there's a little bit of a something to it. With that all in mind is what I've loved. It's because I listen to a huge variety of music.
You should cut your hair nostrils.
Yeah, I know. But then this guy, James Acaster, is a great comedian, a British comedian, but he also is a huge fan of music. He's doing a thing on BBC Sounds called Select Sounds, where he's doing a podcast where he fell in love with music from 2016, and he gives every album that he was released in 2016,
he dove though.
No, he digged.
You have to, guys. You guys must watch what he's talking about right now.
And the main thing is that I want to get across is there were so many things that on paper, if he'd mentioned the band and described it, I would have been I'm not interested.
Blasé.
But his long story and talking about the intimate little bits in each movement and the history of the band and how they evolved has made me enjoy this stuff again.
See now, this is where I kind of like would have, and my wish list would have loved Johann to be in on this one, because I know he's probably watched this and how meta.
Well, the reviews
James
and stuff that he does.
How James was saying, oh,
that pluck came from this thing, and the history of that kind of indie folk Japanese soul music came from. It's super deep.
So don't give too much away about
don't
give
as
it
far as I'm going to go, with regards to that. Cool. Okay, that was our recommends. Obviously, you guys, we're going to listen to the recommends from you guys again, but we're always going to try and come up with something, even if you don't, because we're going to try and make your ears bleed with greatness.
This is why I brought it back. So if you guys got any like cool plugs, give us and let us know. Maybe we don't. I mean, and this is the cool thing about what we're doing, and I'm gonna love celebrating this. It's because we do not know everything about our local stuff.
We want to learn. We're the authorities on
that.
certain things, but not the most authoritative.
Yeah.
We're always willing to learn.
Yeah.
And you guys
Trump us if you can. And
don't use that word. Don't use that name.
Oh God. Okay. Oh God.
Yeah, no. And isn't he going to jail? I don't know. Who cares?
No,
it's irrelevant.
Yeah,
man, cool. So just, I think we're getting close to the end of our actual episode. You guys know what you have to do to get a hold of us, how to get a hold of us. I mentioned a little bit at the top of the show, there's from episode 1, the COVID-19 Nursery Rhyme, just reiterating. We want you guys to remix it however you want. On SoundCloud, I have downloadable versions of the separates, of just the vocals, of just the music. I'm also in the description of YouTube, have the lyrics, so you can change them and adapt them. We want you to go mad and submit. I think in episode 3, we might have one of my mates doing his own remix, just so people have an idea
just so that
what's
people
going
can
on.
get to like what's going on. Also, at the same time, it doesn't necessarily need to be the COVID nursery rhyme. It could be your version of a nursery rhyme that you thought was strange or whatever.
What's happening to you? What you think the COVID-19? Because a lot of things. Because I wrote those lyrics quite a while back, and new things on the news about the pandemic. So you guys can write about that. Any
mean,
any musicians?
I won't lie. I was a bit afraid about you releasing. Because with the kids just make things
but
strange.
they're my kids, man. Well,
yeah, but I mean,
nephews,
that's things. I was just like, and it was just so beautifully scary.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna.
And if you guys don't challenge us on submissions, we will just blast our stuff back to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we want you involved. This is another thing I want to get into is. So many people, I think, in South African culture, we're relatively conservative. We don't easily put our hands up and put our voice to something.
But guys, you want to.
This is your show. This is not 5FM.
As Captain would say, this is a safe danger zone.
This is a danger zone, but it's a safe place for all of you. So please get involved. We want your voices. We're going to put you guys up. We're going to big you guys up, and you don't have to.
Pseudonyms, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. We'll follow you whatever you think you want to, and we're not going to make anybody look bad because that's not what we do.
No, listen.
We just want everybody to celebrate everybody and
enjoy. That's what my contract was about.
Where's our lawyer again? I don't think we have a contract. Okay, well, guys, thank you so much again for listening.
Yeah.
We're going to see you in episode 3. We'll tease during the week maybe who our third guest is. I think we've kind of got a plan already.
Yeah, we do have a plan. We've got some exciting stuff.
And look here, and again, guys, with the track of the day and with the music that's coming on, we're going to head more straight into musos. We've got a musician coming up. We've got an artist that's a multiple thing.
Well,
we're going to be...
Chris is going to underpromise and he's not going to deliver.
Yeah.
Well, listen to this. I've got one more thing to say.
Cool.
Forget developing a third eye. Develop a third ear. People should start listening to themselves.
Yeah, and I love that. And our show is going to close off with a slightly remixed version of the COVID Nursery Rhyme, just so that people can hear the lyrics, because I think I heard a little bit of feedback that they were struggling to hear what the words were. So here's the new version. It'll be on SoundCloud as well. The full version is not downloadable, but all the separates are.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Jacuz!
1, 2, 3, it wasn't 5G or the microchip conspiracy. Rich Bill Gates didn't have to cave. How Mr. Epstein's rolling in his grave. 4, 5, 6, 7, Putin's not in heaven. Donald Trump can't count to 11. They both make all the news fake. Election rigging, they take. 8, 9, 10, spread it again. Round it goes till who knows when. The coronavirus keeps us sick in bed. Over 5 million people are dead. 11 to 20, shopping malls are empty. And we're digging graves aplenty. Doctors all hope for the best vaccine. Till then our hands stay clean. 21 to 50, economy is thrifty. The Peter Royal thinks he's nifty. Prince Andrew liked to play with kids. Now his coffin has lots of lids. 51 to 100, covered in red. Sing the song until you're dead. The police force have all gone crazy. Our dying climate is all hazy. Now that's it, our leaders are twits. Rich and poor all covered in shits. We watched on as the world fell. The 2020s can go to hell.